If you're a fan of incense fragrances, but you feel like you can only wear them in special occasions and in very limited situations, fear not, because I have an incense fragrance for all occasions. Stick around and check this one out. Hey, welcome back to Real Scent Review, guys. So I'm a diehard incense fragrance fan. I love incense. The stronger, the darker, the better. However, I do realize that there are, different iterations of incense out there. Some are stronger than others. Some are more versatile than others. And here I'm going to introduce you guys to Wazamba by Parfum d'Empire, which I feel is one of the most versatile incense fragrances available on the market. So let's delve right into this one, shall we? Wazamba from the house of Parfum d'Empire is inspired by a West African musical instrument that's used in different rituals and ceremonies called the Wazamba. There's not a whole lot of information I could find about that particular instrument, but apparently they burn a lot of incense during these occasions in which they use the Wazamba. So this fragrance is inspired by those sacred rituals, and as an homage to that, the fragrance itself includes ingredients from all over Africa. There's different types of incense resins. There's also some cypress. Yeah, this is a really interesting fragrance here from an interesting house, Parfum d'Empire, which was founded by Marc-Antoine Cortigiato, who is also the master perfumer behind the fragrances of this house. He was born in Corsica. A lot of his creations are based off of hay and aromatic notes, things that were around when he was growing up on the island of Corsica. However, I really think that the best fragrances from this house are actually their darker scents, like Ambre Rousse, which is a boozy amber, very nice boozy amber with some smoke in there as well. Fougere Bengal, which is kind of a spicy oriental twist on Fougere with some tobacco in there as well. Also, they have ones like Musk Tonkin, an amazing musk fragrance. But yeah, this review is about Wazamba here, so let's get into the presentation. It's kind of a minimalist style with no real significant designs. We have the label on the front, and that's about it. Wazamba, Parfum d'Empire Paris. The cap is heavy, although it does not click into place. There is a good amount of friction here. Slides on like that. We have the usual information on the bottom, ingredients, the batch code here. My batch code is WZ12062. Moving on to the box now, white cardboard, typical box style. Kind of reminds me a little bit of the Maison Martin Margiela boxes. It's white and it has a series of blurbs written on 3 sides of the box. The front here, we have the main logo and the Wazamba description. I'll focus in on each side here so you can read it. Feel free to pause the video if you'd like to read it in its completion. Each side here. The sprayer works very well. It's pressurized so you can hold it in and control the amount that comes out. Very nice sprayer here. Very nice scent as well. So the main notes that I get in this are apple and aldehydes in the beginning. In the mid, I get some plum and cypress. And in the dry down, olibanum and apopanax. This opens up very effervescent, reminds me of the smell of champagne, because we get some fruity, crisp, very sharp apple mixed with some aldehydes. The aldehydes are going to give it an effervescent feeling, like I said, reminiscent to me of both the smell and the kind of effect of champagne. It's bubbly in a way. That apple is going to add a little bit of a tartness, and as the fragrance gradually starts drying down towards the mid, I feel like those aldehydes start to provide something like a soapy accord. Anyway, very interesting opening here. You wouldn't really suspect necessarily that an incense fragrance based on an African ritual is going to be smelling like effervescent champagne. Anyway, now towards the mid, I get some plum and cypress. The plum here does make itself quite noticeable, honestly. The plum mixed with the apple is going to give it a dark, fruity characteristic, almost like a fruit kind of stew that you would make during the holidays, at least in North America where I'm from. It's definitely like a boiling fruit kind of characteristic, but it never goes too sweet. It never goes too juicy or anything like that. It is kind of restrained in the fruitiness, but yeah, it is there. It is detectable. And the champagne characteristic, the sparkling effervescence has kind of died down at this point to make way for more deeper fruit accords. Like I said, that stewed kind of fruit nuance that I'm getting. In the mid also, I start to get some cypress that's developing here in this stage. Cypress is woody, it's green, it's aromatic, it's slightly warm, and it really reminds me of the smell of pine needles. And as this fragrance goes drying down even more, that stewed fruit kind of thing definitely starts to die down, and the cypress starts making itself more dominant. And that cypress is met in the dry down with some olibanum and a popanax. So the olibanum, also known as frankincense, is going to give this a very citrusy, pine-like characteristic, also mixed with a light spice, and of course that smoky incense characteristic that olibanum or frankincense is known for. And the popanax, also a tree resin, comes from a similar species as the olibanum. It's going to give this more of a warm, almost honeyed, sweet characteristic to mix with that citrusy, piney, smoky olibanum. The popanax also lends a little bit of a darkness, maybe even slightly boozy, kind of woody characteristic as well, and also a little bit of a smoky facet. This is a really nice incensey fragrance in the dry down. So what I really enjoy about this fragrance is that it is quite incensey, it's resinous, it showcases all the different characteristics of especially the olibanum and also a little bit of that popanax as well. We get the citrus characteristics, the pine-like characteristics, the aromatic qualities, and of course my favorite part, the smokiness. But there is no vanillic or ambery sweetness whatsoever in this fragrance. A lot of times when we get incense in a fragrance, it's paired with ambery and vanillic notes, which, you know, not always a bad thing. But I always do appreciate a nice incense forward fragrance with none of those ambery vanillic notes there to kind of soften the incense, if you know what I mean. I really like a nice purely incense smoky resinous fragrance. And Wazamba absolutely is that. So in the beginning, definitely opens up with some fruits, some light effervescence, crispiness from the apple there. Kind of smells like a fruity champagne, and that fruity characteristic gets a little bit darker and deeper because of that plum in the dry down, and this dries down very piney, citrusy, smoky, typically incensey. Very, very nice. If I had to describe where this scent takes me mentally, it would be drinking champagne on New Year's Eve in a Mediterranean place next to a cypress grove after having come from the midnight mass. So you're in the midnight mass and there's a whole bunch of incense burning. You leave and then you celebrate New Year's Eve, opening up some champagne. Maybe you're outside on a ranch somewhere or on a farm and there are cypress trees growing. All of those things come into my head when I smell Wazamba. Honestly, this doesn't smell very exotic to me, as the name might suggest, as the inspiration for this fragrance might suggest. I don't picture any sort of sacred rituals or anything like that. In fact, I feel like this is a pretty straightforward incense fragrance. Now, that is not to detract from the quality of this. This is very, very nice. As an incense fragrance, I absolutely appreciate it. However, I don't feel like it leans particularly exotic. It definitely doesn't lean too oriental or anything like that to my nose. Now, in the introduction, I alluded to the fact that this was quite versatile, and I stand by that. I think this is extremely versatile if you don't mind a little bit of incense in your fragrances. But hey, if you've tried any incense fragrance out there and you like it, I assure you, you are going to love this one. This one reminds me of some of the members of the Comme des Garçons incense line. We have the ones like Avignon. However, this one is not as churchy or ecclesiastical as that one. Although there is a good amount of incense here in Wazamba, I feel like it's a little bit toned down compared to things like Avignon or maybe even full incense by Montal. This doesn't go full church to me, although there definitely is a component of that in this, and it's noticeable. It's rounded out by some of those fruitier accords and the aldehydes, which are very interesting, adds an effervescence, and even, like I said, a little bit of a soapy characteristic. Very, very nice here. So because of that, I feel like Very versatile. You can wear this anywhere you want. And it is a very enjoyable incense fragrance that I feel like even the most die-hard incense fans will appreciate. Even though it's not on the stronger side of things, it is a very, very nice fragrance for the entire 2.5 hours that it lasts. Yes, I'm sorry to break it to you, but the performance on this is very disappointing. This is a very, very light, ephemeral scent here. Despite the fact that it contains incense resin, despite the fact that it contains plum, despite the fact that it even reminds me of a fruit compote at some stages of the lifespan, very light overall. The performance on this one is extremely light. It doesn't really project that much. I spray this on, and after about half an hour, I really have to struggle to smell the thing, unfortunately, because it really is a beautiful incense-based fragrance. And like I said, if you're really a fan of incense, I know you're going to appreciate this. But at the same time, if you're looking for a big, heavy incense fragrance that's extremely complex and on the oriental side, you're going to be disappointed by this. This is one here, like I said, it's an incense fragrance for incense fans, obviously, who want to wear incense every day, you know, without worrying about the versatility of the scent. A lot of times incense fragrances can be really heavy. They can be pretty foreboding, intimidating, maybe a little bit off-putting to some people, you know, walking around smelling like church all day, for example, which, by the way, I don't mind. I absolutely love smells like that. But yeah, this one here, Wazamba, you know, to put it very simply again, it's a very versatile incense fragrance for all occasions and any season. Although, honestly, in the colder months, like right now here where I am, I don't get much out of this. I think the cold air kind of eats this up, especially because it has some lighter notes like the apple, the crispy, sweet apple, and the aldehydes. I feel like the cold air kind of just kills those notes off fairly quickly. But this really does shine in the warmer weather. So yeah, that's a consideration. It's an incense fragrance that I'm recommending to you for warmer weather. Who would have thunk, right? But yeah, Wazamba, very, very light incense fragrance with, unfortunately, quite poor performance. Really interesting all the same, though. Very good quality incense. I mean, I can tell the ingredients in this are natural for the most part. It smells very good. There's never a stage when I'm wearing this fragrance where I'm thinking, this smells questionable. This smells overly synthetic. You know, it smells like it smells like there's a lot of care that's been put into this fragrance. And I appreciate it myself. I don't always look for crazy performance in fragrances. And like I said, I love incense and I want to wear it as much as possible. So like this fragrance here fills that necessity for me. You know, I can wear this every day without even thinking about it. In fact, I might even venture so far as to say this is kind of like a dumb reach incense fragrance. Wazamba by Parfum d'Empire. Oh yeah, I didn't touch on the price. You can get this for like 120 euros for a 50 ml bottle on various websites here in Europe. In North America, I've seen this on FragranceNet and FragranceBuy.ca as well. Right around 90 bucks American for, again, the 50 ml bottle. Although those two particular websites are sold out right now. So keep checking. If that piques your interest, it can be found fairly easily. Yeah, this has been Wazamba by Parfum d'Empire. Are any of you guys familiar with this particular fragrance? Are any of you guys familiar with Parfum d'Empire in general? I know Parfum d'Empire isn't really one of the more well-known niche brands, but yeah, they have some really, really good offerings. I wouldn't call Wazamba one of my favorites from the house. They have some other really good offerings, like I mentioned before in this video, but yeah, Wazamba by Parfum d'Empire, guys. Hope you've enjoyed it. Until next time, keep it real.